Good morning, people. Oh man, it's a beautiful day out so far. Unfortunately, some of these countries are waking up in rubble. You know, um, as you all know, we at uh, it's hard to call this a war, but I mean you could say we in a battle right now, right? It's an attack, pretty much, on Iran, and Iran, they striking back. They gonna fight. They may not have the weaponry that we have, but they gonna fight, man. This ain't Venezuela, man. You ain't just gonna run down up in there and they ain't gonna lie, they did run up in there and clip niggas, man, like allegedly. Um, packed up they whole leadership, man. About 49 members or something like that got clipped. They packed up the Ayatollah. They packed up his kid, some of his kid and his granddaughter. You know what I'm saying? They packing dudes. They those are good strategic strikes, but problem is with these countries, they're gonna want to retaliate, man. And you gotta expect that. So they gotta defend themselves, man. And I told you guys, man, like yo, these countries that are in the way, that they can bully, and they know they have the better military. First of all, the United States probably have the best military on earth. We know Russia has more nukes, but we have the military and the intelligence, and we have bases all over the world. So we can bombard these. You know what I'm saying? We really wanted to. We're not invincible. No country is invincible, but it's going to be hard to beat the United States. You know, um, it's sad because it's like, what's the point of going over there to do what? Because people can't really understand the point. Texas shooting. Sorry to cut. Just watching the news. Former resident of the Bronx. This man out there in Texas, I think he wore property of the law on his shirt or something like that. And they said they're gonna make it look like, is a Muslim terrorist. That's what they do. They paint Muslims as like bad ancient people that don't want to adapt to the times. That's far from the truth, man. But anyway, back to this war real quick, or this attack, right? So far, Iran is standing alone, and they're attacking, bases, and all over the Middle East where the Americans have their bases. I mean, they can't reach the United States. So the most that we got to worry about is what you call it, lone attackers, or people that went rogue, or sleeper cells they may have. Damn, plane went underwater in Long Island. Small plane, but they survived. At least they survived, man. But anyways, man, we gotta watch out for those lone attackers, man, and anybody that's asleep, things. That's what we gotta watch out for. But I don't, what I'm saying, like, Muslims, to be honest, right? They, we don't kill innocent people, and they shouldn't kill innocent people, man. Whether it's a regime, a lot of people feel like, the Iranian regime was evil. I haven't done, a lot of the research on Iran, right? I know they're a Shia country, They are saying that they killed 30,000 of their people or more, something like that, in protests. That's a lot of people to slaughter, man. I don't know if I believe those numbers, but as Muslims and you running your country, because I definitely was reading a little bit about how they run the country, and you're running the country with jurists, scholars and things like that. Why would you go against that, killing people because they're protesting, when there's nothing in Islam that tells you to do that? You know what I'm saying? Like, people have a right to, voice their opinion on leadership, man. Or they were killing people, girls, whatever. They said they were a bad regime for not covering their heads. There's no reason to kill them or flaw. Sometimes, right, it be the culture gets mixed in, or like a law says don't be extreme in religion. Sometimes it gets to the point of extremities, right? You know, I don't know what goes on in these countries because I don't live there. But, you know, I can't judge these countries, because like I said, we don't live there. We don't know what their rules are and things like that. So people say, oh, they have an evil regime or whatever. From what I'm reading, it looked like they tried to implement some type of Sharia, and what people are doing, when they see these Sharias, they think it's some type of harsh rulings. But in all actuality, right, it's very hard to prove these wrongdoings. Like, for instance, somebody cheating on his wife, you need 4 witnesses, man. You need 4 witnesses, man. And if I forgot if it's a woman, I think it's more. Like 2 women will equal 1 man, or something like that, as far as a witness is concerned. But you need 4 witnesses, man. 4 people that say, hey, this is what happened. I saw this. Do you know how hard that is? Unless you're reckless, that's hard. So, that's a very hard thing to prove. That, you are, cheating on your wife, man, or your husband or whatever. You have to be out in the open doing it. And there's no spying in Islam. So you can't spy on somebody to do it unless you saw something. Like, we don't deal in suspicion and all of that stuff. So that's in the Quran. You don't deal in suspicion, and there's no spying and backbiting. So, for you to implement these things, most men would have to come forward, or women would have to come forward. And stoning to death is the ultimate punishment. That doesn't mean that's the only punishment. So you get brothers and sisters that think that, oh, it's over for me if I did this. I gotta stone myself to death. Those are extreme measures, man. Like, that's like, if, you can Allah is all forgiving, most merciful. So say you don't go and get stoned to death or whatever. You saying that you just go under the fire because you did that? You know what I'm saying? Like, Allah is all forgiving, most merciful. We don't know if Allah would forgive that sin based on how you carry on the rest of your life. If you don't do it again, then you will probably maybe Allah will forgive you. That doesn't mean that has to be the extreme. It does say that. And then, it was another thing I saw, right? Because there's a lot of double standards. Because all these religions, practice these things. Have these types of practices. Like, they'll say, well, Muslims, they violent and they want to wage war. But the, you know, Israelis, they use slogans from their book, and when they justifying slaughtering people, but no one says anything about that, and they hide behind, like I said, they hide behind Judaism, and then they use these quote scriptures, and I forgot what it's called, but it is a scripture that they'll quote and justifies them doing what they're doing, but they'll, when it's the Muslims, they're quick to point out, oh, it says kill. It's not the meaning of actually what it says. Like, they're talking about battling the Meccan people, the Quraysh people, things like that, when they were getting persecuted and they going through certain things, right? They were that, like, it was in reference more to things like that, not just killed unbelievable abuse. Like, people take these words and they want to just highlight certain things and misquote things, but they don't do that to these other religions when they're practicing their things. Some of these religions practice child marriage, but they'll highlight the Muslims. It's like there's a problem always with the Muslims, but if the Muslims do something, it's wrong, but it's okay for other religions to do it, and that's discrimination. That's come on, man. That's not right. And Muslims don't do child marriage. Nothing in the Quran says that we marry children. All it says is that, body reaching the age of puberty, a woman is, is able to, conceive children and things like that, and are mentally capable for marriage. You have to be mentally capable for marriage. You have to fulfill the duties of marriage. How can a child do that? So it don't just mean that, oh, when child is first start bleeding, they can have kids. How, man? And their bodies aren't developed yet to do that. That doesn't mean, you know what I'm saying, like, you know what I'm saying, like, you gotta use your brain sometime, man. The Quran tell you to ponder and think. Use your head, man. You know what I'm saying, like, obviously, you got kids that get a little older, when they get a little bigger, and their bodies are obviously still developing, but they're bigger, their bodies are developed enough where they can have kids. But that doesn't mean that a grown man, most of those arranged marriages were so you gotta remember about, a lot of things go on with stuff with these arranged marriages. Like, sometimes, marriages were like gifts to bring countries together, unite kingdoms and stuff like that. A lot of these arranged marriages were also, my son marries your daughter, and we're gonna make them get married when they're of age and stuff like that, and they're already attended to each other, so they can't really date anything else. But that's compulsion. Another thing that flies in the face of Islam. That part right there is compulsion, because you're not giving this woman a choice. She has to choose. We can't make that choice for her. We can say, hey, look, I think this guy's right for you, and maybe I want to arrange this for you. She has to say, all right, cool. How does a child have the mental capability to understand that? It doesn't make sense. So the Muslims, we don't practice stuff like that. Where do you see this shit happening in any Muslim society that you can verify it and say, all right, this is what's going on here? We know we got a lot of cults and stuff in America or in other places that practice stuff like that are not Muslim, forcing marriages on people, isolating people in areas and keeping them isolated from communities and stuff like that, and and brainwashing people. You got a lot of that going on, you know. So, there's so many misconceptions if you just read and stop listening to people, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you listen to people, right? And they tell you, anything. People don't read and think, man. So it's just like, when back in the days, right? We used to be in church. You'd be sitting around the fam or whatever. And you always used to hear this word, oh, she got some Indian hair. She got that Indian in her, whatever. And, for a period of time, our people were, brainwashing and thinking a lot of us were African and come from Africa. When you start sitting down, you speak to a lot of your older folks, even some of them that embrace that shit, never heard no stories about Africa. Can't tell you nothing about Africa. And none of us ain't never been to no Africa unless we travel over there to visit. So, you start digging like, all right, well, you go back into your timeline and you find out, all right, my people from this area, and then you start to do more research and you find out, all right, this area was controlled by these groups of people and these groups of people, and they were here before the Europeans got here. And this man, Christopher Columbus' own writings and his own people's writings, they were describing the people they were meeting in the Caribbeans that looked like me. Where did they come from? They were already here. Obvious, right? On top of that, you use your brain, man. First, the number was 65 million. It was all kind of millions of people that were slaves and brought over here, and we fell off boats and they threw us off boat like that. None of that shit really, when you start to break it down, makes sense. But they were painting a picture of how inhumane they treated us, and they were painting a picture of, like, of the cruelties and things like that of slavery. And we, saying, like the brother Dane Calloway or others will say, it's not that it wasn't slavery. It just wasn't the way they highlighted to be. Where it was just some cruelty mission, you know what I'm saying? Like, or it was just massive groups of people. One, you know how many boats and shit you guys gotta build to bring all those millions of people? You know how many boats you got to bring? You know what I'm saying? Like, think about that shit, man. Like, that means ships had been going out, and it takes months, especially in those times. How big was these ships? You know what I'm saying? Like, where are the ships now? Like, you know what I'm saying? Where's these ships, man? And then come to find out, they said they didn't even bring a whole bunch of slaves. I think 4 to 6% of the slaves, of like 10 million slaves. Now the number is very low, like 10 million. That's still a lot of people, a whole lot of people. But most of those people went into the Caribbeans after they done wiped them people out and chased them into the mountains. And you had the South Americans, where they because you look at the map and you look at you know what I'm saying, the earth, that's the closest place from that they can get to and sail the safest routes, you know what I'm saying. So most of them people went there, and then they traveled up the coast and all of that stuff, you know what I'm saying. But where did the rest of the people come from that are already here, that we are already here in America? People from Louisiana, all the people in the Northeast, people out west, people from Mexico. These were places, and then when you look at a lot of these places across the country, they're named after Indian people. And then people will say, oh, well, you want to be Indian so bad. Nobody wants to be Indian, fam. See, you looking at like people saying they don't want to be who they are. Like I don't like my skin color or something. Or I want to be. I don't want to identify with African. Why would I identify with something I have nothing in common with? And that's not to say that people don't have love for the African brothers and sisters. It has nothing to do with that. It's our identities were stripped. You know what I'm saying? It says it in the census. You know what I'm saying? It says it in our culture, our way of life. You know what I'm saying? Like, these things are all modern that were brought up, this African thing and all of that, and Nubian stuff, and that stuff was more modern. We were following fast, just like brothers used to follow Nation of Islam and what you call it, the 5%ers and all that stuff. All those things are us trying to figure out who we are, man, and trying to formulate some type of unity within our communities, man. And the 5%ers, they branched off from that Nation of Islam, but Islam always been around. You know what I mean? So, it just was a different form of Islam that they were practicing, more like a nationalistic Islam, which is not Islam. Islam doesn't follow nationalistic ways and teachings. Islam is for the whole earth, man. Everybody to embrace. White, black, green, Asian, animals, everything should embrace Islam. So it doesn't preach racism. People preach racism. People bring their culture and their race into these religions. Same way how, they innovated Christianity and Judaism to fit their narrative. It's the same playbook all over the place, man. Saying people, like what they doing in Gaza, you wiping those people out, and then you want to put your people there, replace their history and stuff. Same thing they did in the Caribbean, same thing they did in North America, in South America. Wipe out the people, the indigenous, take their land, set up shop there, mistreat the locals and the remaining people, strip them of their identities, and call them ignorant and slow because they're not adapting fast enough. Y'all strip them of their identities, man. Same thing they did here. So people want to use that oppression shit. Oh, we were oppressed and we had to flee. How come we ain't flee nowhere? They tried to ship us to Libya and the Caribbeans and all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? When you read things about Abraham Lincoln and what's the name of that book? The American Society or Civil, I forgot the name of that book. But it's in the book, man, where they tried to ship us to Africa, and they were shipping people to England and stuff like that. American colonization. I forgot what it was called, the name of that book. That book, I still got the book downloaded in my phone. And it speaks about all that stuff. Like, some of them say, oh, name your sources and all that, and they be freestyling on their videos, and you don't see a source from them. All you hear is them quoting scientists, what scientists said it, and the Chinese scientists and this scientist. All right, well, where's their evidence? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, man, the only way you gotta go off the artifacts you find around the earth, depictions. That's what we kind of going off of. Writings, laws, old magazines and stuff like that. Not magazines, old newspaper clippings, and you know what I'm saying? Like, rules and regulations that they had. All that stuff is in the writings, man. You can see how our people were stripped and stuff like that. And it's not, like I said, it's not to say that there weren't no African brothers here, because they definitely came and integrated. So some of us can have some type of mixture of that in us. But all we're saying is, hey, look, our people were here first. A lot of these people that are saying that they're claiming a Native American are not the same type of people that were here first. Some of them adapted and took on that role. Some of them were integrated through interracial marriages and relationships and things like that. And some of them people got, I don't want to use the word watered down, but it's just like looking at a couple that's black and white and they have kids, man. Saying a lot of those kids, you can identify them as black, so-called blacks, but they're mixed people. You know what I'm saying? Like, and only difference with that whole thing is language and culture. You know what I'm saying? So like, if European Spain people come and they mix with the natives, and they're gonna have their babies are still gonna come out looking the same as if the natives look like me, as a native that looks like me here, and he messes with a European, like a German girl or male, whatever, they're gonna look the same, man. It's just the language will change. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they definitely gonna have different features because of the regions and the type of people, but the complexions are gonna be there and they're the same. You know what I'm saying? Like, and some are gonna have straighter hair, some are gonna have nappy hair, some, is gonna be darker, some are gonna be lighter. Now, if they keep mixed breeding and one mixed person is breeding with another mixed person, them kids are gonna come out probably lighter. That's what's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? Who's to say that didn't happen with the Native Americans? Who's to say that some of the people didn't want to take advantage of the resources the Native Americans had and signed up, and after they took land from these people and said, we're Native American now. Same thing that these Polish and all these people are doing in Israel. Oh, this is our land, we were kicked out and now it's ours and we're back, that we claim it. You people are from Europe, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was never your land to begin with, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, the people were already there. They were already going through, in the times of Moses, in the times of David and Goliath, and all these times, people was already, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all was already just coming there or whatever, but the people were already there practicing these faiths. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like, you guys traveled there and entertainment purposes only. And people probably could have traveled there and infiltrated those lands and rewritten those books, because you got to remember, the Roman Empire lasted a long time, but not only that, people travel, you know what I'm saying? People migrate. Who's to say I didn't migrate there? And I read something about, like, this was a few years ago. I read this article about, like, how they migrated and integrated it. I forgot the name of the article. I always forget these names and stuff, but there was an article, and and I was reading it, and it was talking about how, like, they migrated from, like, the a lot of people always say that it's Caucasus Mountains, but from those areas like Caucasus, all them little areas up there in like Eastern Asia or Eastern Europe, or Western Asia, you would say. And these people were really Asian people that came there, and they saw how to, what religion they could possibly use to infiltrate and and integrate with the people and actually use it to their own benefit. Christianity didn't exist, so it was pretty much mainly the teachings of Abraham, Yaqub, Ishmael, Isaac, all of the prophets, peace be upon them, that came after him. They infiltrated that stuff, man, and rewrote the scriptures. The law tells us that in the Quran. They rewrote the scriptures for a measly price, man. They took their rabbis and priests and monks, as people of worship. So it says that, man. Like, they say, oh yeah, it was another. I think it's Surah Baqarah, ayat 11. They say, oh, why do you create mischief in the land? Oh, we only make peace. So you know what I'm saying. When you hear that, already know Allah said that. Everything that we be learning has already been in the Quran. Something that is referred to or said or done or figured out. Quran Allah already done revealed that. So, these people took these people away their lives. And that shit happened here. You gotta remember, Africa, all those countries are connected. It all got separated, by the church in England and all of that stuff later on. Empires and things like that were able to come down there and colonize a lot of these areas in Africa and all of these places, and they started dividing up in continents and dividing up lands and things like that, calling it this and that. These people did that. So these playbooks have been run all over the place, man. But you always hear these guys, oh, we had to flee Iran, and I'm from this country, and my family fled. We ain't had to flee, man. Slavery, reclassifications, the Jim Crow era, post-Civil War era, before the Civil War, all type of oppression and land, loss of land, segregation, like I said, with Jim Crow. What else? Oh yeah, all kind of slaughters and massacres and things like that our people, endured. What else? Oh yeah, discrimination, racial profiling, the civil rights movement, what went down with that, our leaders getting killed, like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, people that, actually, stood on the front lines and voiced, how they felt for the most part, right? Despite what people write about them, and say about them, and, they still stood on the front line. Mass incarceration, police brutality, poor schooling, wealth inequality, and yet we fought in every war. We're still standing. We're still proud Americans, and we still fight for rights to this day, and we still strap up. Most of our people strap up. I got a sister in the army. I got cousins and stuff that done served. My grandfather served. Me, I served the streets when I was a kid, so I didn't do anything right till I got older. But we still standing, and we still here in America. You have a few people that leave as brothers, sisters, whatever. They leave for personal little reasons, like, oh, I want to find like niggas that go overseas and go find a wife, women to go overseas try to find a husband, or I'm tired of America, and guy, they go over there for their little personal things, like, but nobody's fleeing from out of all the stuff we've been through. They even tried to ship us to nah, fam. This is our home, so it's there for a reason, B. And it's not to say just because somebody's saying, hey, you know what, I'm not from Africa. Our people might have already been here, and majority of us, even if we did have some African in us, from mixing with the natives here, or some of the Africans, that may have stayed themselves, they still, those people, saying, obviously you guys come from Africa, but if people are doing their genealogy and they're tracing their roots back, and they're saying, well, we come from a tribe, my family was actually connected to this tribe, or of people, these are people that were already established here. Nobody's trying to be like the people that are here now. This is the point that I was trying to make when I was talking about, how, interracial things and sex and marriages and stuff can, can change the features of the people, man. And change actually a little bit of the culture. They still adapt, because you got, like, a lot of them still adapt to our culture. Just because they are, mixed, they can still adapt to the culture and say, hey, look, this is what I was taught. Hey, I'm saying, like, because 50, 60 years, 100 years from now, you'll have a lot of mixed people here, and they're gonna still be listening to rap music and talking about hip hop, and dressing urban and things like that. And that's not to say that they came and just took our way of life, but to, saying, like, and you'll have a few white folks, still dressing urban, listening to rap. You want to have all of that stuff, and you may have a lot, because there's a lot of interracial relationships. You're gonna see a lot more light brown people, lighter people, and stuff like that. And all they're gonna know is what they've been taught through the years, and they could be still following the things that the paths we laid out for, just like those ancestors laid out those paths that the Native Americans are following today. That doesn't mean that the people that were the originators didn't look like us. So it's not like we saying, hey, I want to be the Native Americans that are here now. I don't want to identify as black. No, you don't gotta be in no tribe to know your history, or say, I don't want to identify with black. We're just saying everybody don't have to identify with being African, especially if you can't prove I came from there. Where is these slave ships, man? What boat you come off of? You know what I'm saying? Like, because they have documents of that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were probably bringing a handful of people over here at a time. Then how much boats was y'all building? You know what I'm saying? Like, most people ain't start migrating here until the Civil War, post-Civil War. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have migrations here, but you look at a lot of people, right, and you start listening to a lot of these people talk about their ancestors. Oh, my great grandfather came here. Now, mind, this person's in their 30s, maybe 40s. So let's take 40 years. Your parents were born, your grandparents were here. Then the generation before that, if it's your great grandfather, that means that's a 1800s, early 1900s generation of people. That's only 100 and some years ago. So a lot of people just getting over here, man. When things got a little more modern, man, they were able to make these bigger ships and things like that. And ships, I mean, before it was just boats and stuff like that. Credit Dan Cowell and others for pointing that out. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then there were certain routes that you had to take. So, on my mind, I always felt like, what, that African story don't even sound right. First of all, we just sat here as slaves and just I don't believe that. I never believed that shit. And we didn't fight back, and we just sat, nah, it didn't ever sat right with me. Of course, you had your house Negroes and the scared ones and stuff like that. But I know majority of our people ain't stand for that shit, man. You know, and there was racism all over this country. So, but we still here. We ain't fleeing, our country. And so it's like, and we've paved the way for people to come here and be successful while we're the ones getting disrespected by the very same people that will come here and benefit from you, from me, or for the backs of our ancestors. Like, so it's like, it's a slap in the face when you see people come here and look down on you. It's like, damn, man, like, all the shit we've been through for, for people's rights, this is how we get treated, man. Like, so, it's really, messed up, man, that people will come here and look down on you and say, well, I'm better than you because of the propaganda that's being pushed by mainstream media and stuff like that portray us as violent, lazy, angry, like attitudes. And that's far from the case, man. Yeah, you got your attitude people. You got all people got the same problems, man. Like, some people are just driven by certain things, money, and we're being separated. And it ain't just a color thing, right? We're being separated by all type of shit, man. Religion, race, rich and poor, just our way of thinking, politics. People, I started believing in this MK Ultra shit, man, because it's like people have been brainwashed, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, just look at when people they follow hard, man. Like die-hard Trumpers, man. LeBron James fans. People be brainwashed, man. Like, you can't, no matter what you tell them, no matter what they see, they just don't care. And remember, I said this shit in the previous video, how we're being groomed for the Dajjal, man. The Dajjal is, you know what I mean? Like, in order for you to believe that somebody's going to do this and do that, and I'm God, you gotta be prepped for that, man. And be being prepped, man. Same way how they try to prep you, only the believers will see it. And same way how they prep you for all these wars and prep you to hate, the Muslims and hate these people and, or they're just terrorists. Why are they terrorists? I've been saying that shit for decades, man. Nobody wake up in the morning and say, I want to kill people like that. Not groups of people, man. What's the reason why they want to do that? We all witnessing them attack Iran for no fucking reason. What did Iran do? Oh, they're harboring terrorists. They make up all this shit, and we don't do that. How many coups have Americans been a part of? And regime changes and terrorist organizations been funded. Like that's some hypocritical shit to say, man. They always create mischief in the land. But when you point that out, say, no, we only bring peace. Nah, man. All around the world, it's the same story. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like, Iran, where they're attacking all the, you know what I'm saying? You had this lady, Rachel Maddow, man, that shit was funny as hell. She got on her little podcast and, it was the Muslim countries and it was the Middle Eastern countries that they wanted this war, and Saudi Arabia wanted everybody but the country that is attacking these motherfuckers, man. Which is Israel and America. America didn't even want this war. None of us want this shit because we know it's not gonna end well. We're gonna spend more money. It's gonna create more inflation. Right now the gas prices ain't get crazy yet, but when there's shortages of gas and you got Iran shooting trying to blow up ships and shit like that now, it's gonna be harder for people to get stuff, shipped out, man. Especially when that is the region where the majority of the gas is coming from. It's gonna destroy the economy, man. That's already faltering. We're already going through high prices, man. So now prices could get higher because stuff can't get imported. You already had these tariffs create higher prices, man. You know what I'm saying? So, because now they gotta, in order to get this stuff in, they gotta pay a fee, and then now that fee comes down on consumers, and now we dealing with this. It's only been a couple of days, man, and it's like, yo, but why us? And then the politicians sit there and continue to gaslight you, man. These people are all paid actors and liars, and shit is all bullshit, and it's all Hollywood, man. Shouldn't be there. You shouldn't be attacking these people. Killed their leadership, and you think that's gonna go away? Nah. And Iran got an army. It's sad that they standing by themselves. And see, that's the problem too. They won't do that to Russia, China. They didn't want North Korea having. I didn't see North Korea detonate one nuke. Oh, they firing, they testing their nukes. That shit is a deterrence so that countries like Israel and America don't invade. And that's why they don't want Iran to have nukes. It's just common sense, man. Use your brain, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like the slave stories. How you pack all them people on a boat? Hundreds of people on a boat. You gotta have food for all those people, which means you have to have big ass boats, man. You know what I'm saying? Like you had to have super huge boats, and you had to have a lot of food. Like you had to have ships to do that, man. You know what I'm saying? Now they've done it. Now this is hundreds of years. But if you just use your head, you know how much manpower that's gonna take. First of all, you're building boats and stuff like that. You're gonna need plenty of food. You need food for months. You know what I'm saying? Like unless them people was eating once a day, which they probably had to eat or whatever to endure, you needed water, enough water. How did they drink water? Did they know that the water, the salt water and all that stuff, they couldn't drink? Which means you had to have ways to boil water. You know what I'm saying? Like, or boil that salt out of it. Like, how did they know how to do all of that stuff? Like, how was it done, man? And enough water for 405. Like, why would you trade stocks, right? Or, you know what I'm saying, whatever your merchandise you had to trade for these slaves or whatever, or use your manpower to go get these slaves and to lose half of your shipment. What's the point of going, man? And starve them, and they so weak by the time they get there, and most people are malnutrition, urine and feces. Where did everybody use the bathroom at? And you just got them laying in feet. They would have died, man. Like, use your brain, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, these were probably obvious small emissions, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's like, come on, man, use your brain, man. And we can't find no slave ships. As big as them boats would have had to been to fit all the people on there, they would have had them shits artifacts, man. But over there. But like I said, this war is not. I don't think it was a good idea. And then Trump, you ran on all this anti shit and anti-war, You made fun of Obama. You criticized everybody that, you said the nuclear deal he did was stupid and all that stuff, and you gave them money. What he did was he saved the Iranian people from war, and he saved, he was trying to really, that investment was to save them from war, us from jumping into the war. Now look at us. All because you people, are compromise with these damn Epstein files. That's what I think. I think that guy used the files, man, that he had on people as leverage, man. And if, we already know the cult of the Republican Party, some of them are breaking ranks because they know they're going to get crushed in the midterms. So let's hope we even have a midterm one. And, I don't think voting really going to solve anything like that, because we'll get the same probably kind of Democrats in that, they don't really come with no real plans and policies like, how you gonna help the American people. They just gonna run off of, look at what these guys have done to our country, and that's pretty much what they're doing. There's no solution in their plans. Like, oh, we're gonna help affordability. How? What's the plan? You know what I'm saying? Like, so, we need plans, but they're gonna get wiped in the midterms. You already know that. So some of them are breaking ranks. Break the rank. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they should have. There's no accountability, and that's the problem that I have too with all these. When you get these, and you get a president and you give him that much power to appoint everybody in these positions, and the people get no say so. People never know shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, they don't want to tell us nothing. We got everything is secretive, and you know what I'm saying? It's like you hire a servant to work in your house, and the servant is telling you, you got to address me this way. The servant is telling you, you don't, you know what I'm saying? I'm having to suspect there's mice in the house. Don't worry about it, man. I got it. Ain't no mice here, and you don't gotta go down there and investigate. I'll investigate. I'll do it. It's like they pushing you aside in your own house. Yet you paying them to do a job. You brought them here to do a job for you. They outside helping the neighbors. They the ones in the basement every night. Like, you like, yo, I want to know what's in the basement. I don't worry about what's in the basement, but this is my house. Oh, dress me this way. You don't talk to me like that. You hire me to do this, and you're gonna respect me, and I'm the one that's the servant. That's like the servant. You telling the master what to do. This is what they doing to us. They going to help the neighbor. We like, yo, but we need help here. Don't worry about it, man. I'll take care of you later, man. Or we just get ignored because you're busy helping the neighbor. I didn't hire you to help the neighbor. I hired you to do the job in the house, man, and be transparent. So they took the Epstein files and hid them shits from people, which is equivalent of, it was mad mice in the basement, but because we know you would freak out and you would say we're not doing our job by keeping the basement clean and keeping the house clean. Now the mice is all in the house. One or two might get in the house now, and now the house gets infested. You saying nothing to see here. It wasn't our fault. It was the people down the block. They're dirty and they're the ones bringing the mice over here. We gotta exterminate them. But if it wasn't for you not telling us nothing, maybe we could have helped fix the problem. But when you keep people in the dark and you treat them like trash, this is what happens when the servant, thinks he's over here. He's taking advantage of, of his employer, of his master. He's saying, all right, you pay me, but I'm gonna get paid over here, over there, over there. Check it. Like, they'll come over there and pay, right? And say, hey, look, man, we want you to we want you to, be presentable when you go to your boss, right? You know what I'm saying? So here's a couple of dollars, go buy yourself a nice outfit, go over there, show them you could clean the house, or go buy the equipment to clean the house. And then, but when you finish showing them the equipment, bring that over here and have them, invest more into you, because they're gonna see that, look, he's spending, he's willing to, try to do this, that, and the third, make sure my house is clean. That's exactly what we want. And once they see that the servant comes over there after they done gave you a couple of dollars, and you like, okay, well, you go to the master and say, hey, look, man, you go to the boss, hey, I got this little vacuum here that's gonna help. Let's get you a better vacuum. Let's get you, I see you investing, we're gonna pay you a little bit more. We're gonna, what I'm saying, like, you're doing good. Yeah, we trust you, man. Here's some money. Go buy a bigger vacuum. Go buy a better vacuum, and you take that vacuum and go make mad bread off that shit in other places. Meanwhile, over here, nothing's getting done. But you down the block, taking our money and resources and things like that, using the shit over there. But what about over here? And then they paying you a bigger bag. So now, when you go over there, after you done got the bag from us, you go over there and you do the job, and then they pay you more money. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy, man. Like, because that's what I think, for entertainment purposes only. I think our government, they get a bag from these donors to run their campaigns and things like that. And I think that all the shit is a scheme, man. And I think that once they get elected, they do a little bit for the people, and then they the donors, now it's time to do the work for the donors. When they need stuff done, they skip the people and they go to do the donors work. And I think that when they're foreign donors, right, there's a hustle involved. Listen, we get the budget. You know what I'm saying? Like we say we need this for war. We need this budget to pass for this. And I think they get the money once they get everything passed. Because remember, they getting a little bit of money, getting some millions to run their campaign. Then you get in office, you're getting billions to say, hey, look, we're going to send this money here, there for this cause, that cause. And then once they ship that money's probably, some of that money's probably getting shipped back in different forms, getting put in their pockets, man. Billions. Where do you think these people getting this money from, man? So they, I think this shit is all a scheme, man. You know what I'm saying? Then you got access to know what's going on with the economy because you firsthand. This shit is crazy, man. Like, I just think we being got, man. And I think people are waking up to this shit, man. They don't like it. So they'll look at a person like me and say, oh, man, you're just on your internet, you don't know shit, man. I can use my brain and think, man. I ain't got to be 100% right. But if I'm on to something, if there's smoke, there's fire, man. But anyways, man, let me go lay down for a little bit, man. Get some rest, man. Many Face Publishing. Sorry for the long rant, but I'm out, man. Everybody have a blessed day. Peace.